Hi, my name's Aisha Khan, and I'm with Tri-Cities TV, and I'm here at the Kyle Center in Port Moody, and I'm here with Mayor Mike Clay. How are you today?
Excellent. Couldn't be better.
You're doing good? Now, we were part of your council meeting today. It was wonderful. How did it feel like going back 100 years?
I think it's a blast. Port Moody has a deep history, and today we were reenacting the first council meeting, and the councilors and myself, we just had a great time with it. The people came out and got to see we were debating traditional motions of council, but we obviously, as you saw, we're putting a little bit of a fun spin on it, and I think we had a really good time with it. And it really, I think, connects people to our history without it being, boring history. So it works out pretty neat.
You were talking about quite a few different things from road taxes to dogs in the community, all the way to the railroad. Now, what are some of the really cool things that you've learned throughout the entire process of getting ready for this meeting today?
I think, the funny part is that things weren't that different 100 years ago than they are today. They had complaints about safety around the CP rail tracks. They had complaints and a bylaw about dog control and dog licensing. They were implementing a road tax, to help pay for the sidewalks and the streets. The same problems 100 years ago that we have today. So, it's neat to see the perspective, and however they say that, the more things change, the more they stay the same. That we're grappling with the same issues today that they did 100 years ago, but really neat to get that historic perspective on Port Moody and where our roots are as a city.
So how far do you think we have come in regards to some of those issues? For example, the railroad and the street taxes.
I think astonishingly, we haven't come very far on some of those issues at all. I mean, we're still grappling with how do we fund transit in the transportation network now. We had, and I was prepared to make some comments in there about, maybe one day, 100 years from now, we'll move people in giant trains that run above the streets, like a SkyTrain thing, because the principles are all the same, though, and it's all relative. What was 40 cents then might be $40 now, but it's all relative, and people wanting value for their taxes and dealing with these issues. And, why did we incorporate cities in the first place? Was so that we could share our resources and our financial ability. One person couldn't build a street, but, you get everybody together on the street and they can have it paved. So, the similarities and the differences, they all work together, I think, and it just makes for interesting history. But I think that surprisingly some of these issues that we're having almost the exact same conversation 100 years later that they were having in 1913, and that's just funny.
So what do you think the draw of Port Moody is? I mean, it's drawing in the almost a retirement crowd, but as well as the younger crowd. What do you think is changing in Port Moody that's just drawing in all these people from the community, and they want to settle down and live here?
Well, I think, much like it was, 100 years ago, this was a mill town, and then we were a refinery town. So it was a very industrial town. It was working class people in a working class town. The changes that have been made over the last really 20 plus years, the decisions by councils of the day to urbanize the town center area, the Newport Village area, and to protect our green and our oceanfront. So we have, protected the Shoreline Trail. We have Burt Flynn Park and the North Shore Parks that are protected as green space. We have the water where they can paddle and sail and swim in the summers, and the North Shore Mountains where you can mountain bike and hike and take your dog for a walk. And we have a very diverse mix of housing in Port Moody now, where you can live in a condo, a townhouse, or a single-family home on a small lot, big lot. So you get a lot of people now that can go through their life living in Port Moody. So we have now 30-somethings that are moving here from, say, Kitsilano or Yaletown, and they get married, they want to start a family, and they want to be out here in School District 43, where we have great schools and a great system. And, I think they choose Port Moody because, without I can't take all the credit, but without bragging, I think Port Moody has been very well led from a civic government standpoint. That the planning and the way the city has evolved has happened in a very good method, a controlled method, and one that works to allow people to not only live here most of their lives, but other people to come and go, and there's a mix of housing and lifestyle choices for people.
Absolutely. Now, you played Mayor Rowe today. You did an excellent job at that. Perhaps maybe a future in acting, I don't know.
I think, the funny thing is, I think our council today was spectacular. And, a lot of times the mayor's job is to chair the meeting, is just to make sure that the rules of order are followed and that the conversation happens and it's respectful and that, votes are taken, that votes are called, that tallies are kept. And so, it was great to see our councilors jumping in and passionately embracing the roles and bringing a little bit of a 21st century slant to, the 19th century type of issues that they were dealing with back then. But we had a lot of fun with it. It's an honor for me to be wearing Mayor Rowe's role and to be with council. I think it was a great idea, and I think we had a lot of fun, and I think everybody that was here really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Now, that being said, how much have the council meetings changed? The meeting that we saw today was 100 years ago versus the meetings that you're having now. How different are they, or how similar are they?
They're almost identical, really. Our rules of process and rules of order and our council procedure bylaws are almost identical. There was a little more formality there that we didn't do today because of the space that we had. But so they had rules then that you were supposed to stand when to be addressed, and then you would speak. And so we didn't do that. But the rules of order, the first, second, and third readings, the stuff that people look at and they go, oh, I don't understand government and all the formality that you have, and you realize that these things have been around for hundreds of years because they work. And that it allows, proper process, consideration, and debate. You can keep things respectful. You can keep it so that, people are able to, like a first reading of something is meant to introduce it. And you don't just, you're not supposed to do multiple readings at one meeting, because you want to introduce it at first reading. And then that's the public's first chance to say, oh, here, council's working on something. And then they can get engaged and they can say, hey, I read in the newspaper, I saw at the council meeting that you guys are thinking about a dog tax or a road tax or a spray park at Rocky Point or an evergreen line. And that's how, you get people engaged. So, those rules of order and those rules of process work well. They've worked well for hundreds of years, and they will continue to work well for hundreds of years. And 100 years from now, somebody will be having the same conversation going, how much has it changed? And I think the content will change, but the way the meetings take place is very, very similar.
Now, you're the mayor of Port Moody right now. Where do you see Port Moody in 100 years? Because I am pretty sure Mayor Rowe did not think that Port Moody would be booming the way that it is right now. So where do you think Port Moody will be in 100 years?
I think, it's an almost impossible question. As it was for him, it would be almost impossible for me. My goal is to make sure that the people living in Port Moody are living the way they choose to live, and that we're responsible and that we're maintaining a city that people want to live in. So, I don't know, you get thinking about the Jetsons or the things that, Mayor Rowe never saw, iPads and internet and those sorts of things, and what's coming next, you never know. So I think, you make sure that you're always building on a solid foundation and that you've got a good city infrastructure so that whatever comes along, the city can adapt to it. Now, we're a small city, and what I like about small cities is that we're able to adapt to new things as they come along. So, will our vehicles be fleets of electric cars? I'm sure they will be. Will we be, moving away from heavy industry to high-tech industry? Well, we already are. Will we be changing our methods of housing? Well, we went from single-family small houses to, condos and townhouses. So I think that, in my lifetime, that's what's going to continue, and I think we're going to see changes in the way regionally seems to be where the pressures are now, how we're going to work regionally and how things are going to progress. And probably, if some people had their way 100 years from now, there won't be a Port Moody, there will be a Metro Vancouver with a single metropolis, and we'll see how that works for them. But you never know, and you don't even want to guess. You just want to make sure that you're doing everything right for now with your eye on the future, to not do anything that encumbers the future and keeps everything on a solid footing.
So just coming back to the present moment now, what is one of your favorite things about Port Moody right now?
Oh, yeah. For me, I'm a sailor. Grew up as a sailor. So the reason I'm in Port Moody is because I can, I think it's 134 feet or something for me to get from the top of my driveway to Rocky Point Park. I love the ocean and the mountains. I'm a mountain biker. I'm a kayaker. I'm a sailor. I'm here in Port Moody because I love our natural surroundings, and I top that off with all my great neighbors and the wonderful people that live here, and nothing could be any better. There's no reason, and I really value, and it was before my time on council, but the development that the council encouraged and brought in the day with Newport Village and Sutterbrook and Klahani and changing, we are constantly held up as the model city for complete compact community and the new way of building communities, and that I can get on my bike or I can just walk with my dog over to Newport Village on a Saturday morning and pop into the butcher shop and pick up a loaf of bread. That's what I love about Port Moody, and as long as it stays that way, I'm a really happy person.
I am here with Councillor Diane Dilworth. How are you?
I'm doing quite well today, thank you, as we celebrate the 100th birthday of Port Moody's very first City Council meeting.
You look wonderful. Now tell us why you're dressed like this.
Well, as Alderman Arthur Bernard White, circa 1913, we participated in a reenactment of that very first council meeting from April 7th, 1913.
Now, I was lucky enough to be part of that meeting today, and it was wonderful. Now, what are some of the things that you learned while you were getting ready for this meeting?
I actually chaired the subcommittee that was putting this event together, and we really wanted to make sure that there was an entertainment value, but also an educational component. The subcommittee spent considerable time going back and reading the original meeting minutes from 1913 and coming up with bylaws that we could debate that might still have some relevance. There was people concerned with the railway, there was people concerned about dogs and taxes, and that was a part of the entertainment today, was actually redebating those bylaws from 100 years ago. What we did learn is some things just don't change.
Now, I know that you were the one that spearheaded this whole, reenactment. Why did you take on this? I mean, it was wonderful, but why did you take it on?
At the beginning of the year, I am part of the Centennial Committee. I'm vice chair of the Centennial Committee, and there was a very long shopping list of events that everyone was brainstorming. What would be the events that could take place? What would be the most educational and entertaining to our residents and other people participating? And actually doing a reenactment was one we thought it would give an opportunity to see what it looked like in 1913. We all arrived in antique vehicles. We were all dressed in period costumes of the day, and we debated the bylaws of 100 years ago. So it was sheer entertainment and educational value. And that was the goal in the very beginning. I think it should be noted the entertainment value came strictly because in coordinating the agenda for the meeting today, all members of council were given the bylaw, the original bylaw. They knew what the resulting action was. Every comment, every debate, every question was completely improv this afternoon. To be honest, I was sitting on my seat just a little bit wondering what could possibly happen next. And I think we saw a lot of what could happen next with someone jumping out of the audience. That was completely unrehearsed and unexpected. And the mayor handled it very well.
It was done very well, and it was quite humorous, very humorous. And your improv skills were amazing. Now, I asked the same question to Mayor Clay. Could there possibly be a bit of an acting bug that's bitten you?
Oh, I think you could see from some of the acting, good, bad, and otherwise, that all of us have a little bit of ham in us.
All right, now moving along, I know that you're spearheading the Centennial Parade in June. Why don't you tell us a little about that?
Since first getting elected in 1999, I've talked about the lack of a community parade. If you look at every neighboring municipality in the Lower Mainland has a parade where we shut down Main Street and everybody comes out to celebrate. We do have our Remembrance Day parade every year. We have an Arts Festival Lantern Parade in the summer, but going back 14 years, I've wanted to see the resurgence of a community parade. The Centennial gave me the perfect catalyst to make this happen. So when the Centennial Committee had their shopping list of possible events, I was first to jump up to say, I will take responsibility for bringing together a great group of people to making a parade happen.
What can we look forward to?
It is going to be incredibly exciting. Saturday, June 22nd, 11 o'clock, the parade is going to leave the new City Hall on Ioko. Ioko Road will be closed down. The parade will then travel down Murray Street, all along Murray Street, and it'll end at the park where there are other events taking place afterwards. We are anticipating probably about 100 entries. We've got floats, we've got bands, we've got school groups, we have mascots, we have a lot of excitement building around the parade.
That's wonderful. Now, where can we get more information?
Parade information is easy, www.portmoody.ca/parade. On there, you will see all the guidelines about how big your float can be. You can find out information on the route. You can find out some information on the history of parades in Port Moody. The very first one was held in 1920 and went down Ioko Road.
Wow.
I know. We had May Day parades here for, I believe May Day parades ended in the early 70s. So for about 50 years, there was May Day parades. And I don't know what happened. What I'm really hoping is this particular parade has been put together with an incredible group of volunteers. And I'm hoping that these volunteers or some other group will stay committed and will ensure that we have a parade, not only this year, but for years afterwards. Everybody loves a parade.
Welcome back. We're here with Councillor Jerry Nuttall. Thanks for being with us today. Now, you're all dressed up. Tell us what all this is about. Now, we did talk to Councillor Dilworth, and she kind of gave us a sneak peek as to why she was dressed up, but you need to tell us who you are.
I'm dressed up as James A. Clark, who was the senior councillor. He had been on the first council. He was 79 years old when he was elected. He was a real estate developer in Port Moody, former sea captain, and Clark Road and Clark Street is named after Mr. Clark.
Wonderful. Now, tell us about the preparation that went into you becoming Mr. Clark, because you've got these mutton chops going on.
Well, I had to find some artificial hair, first of all. You couldn't just find the mutton chops. I had to find artificial hair. Then I had to find the glue to put it on with, and then I had to sit in the bathroom with my wife and put it on. So.
Now, you had something in your pocket, and you have to take that out and show it to everybody, because not everybody walks around with that in their pocket.
This is called latex, in case I have a, what do you call it, a wardrobe mishap. So.
All right, so what were some of the other preparations that you went through for this event?
Well, the event has been planned for a large time, part of our centennial events, and we had to come and research the early, the first 2 years of council minutes and council agendas, and determine many of the items that you saw today, the issues that you saw today, were over a 2 or 3 month period. They didn't all happen at the first meeting, but the first meeting was pretty dry, actually. It was just mostly procedural things. So the fun stuff came later when it was talking about the dog tax and the road tax and things like that.
What was your favorite part of today? Because it was quite funny.
Well, I thought that our mayor did a great job ad-libbing. He's very quick on the uptake. So I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed Jeremy Moss from the audience when he talked about his dog. What was it, Rufus?
Ruckus? Was it Ruckus?
No, I can't remember.
Ruckus.
Yeah, okay, Ruckus. So, and that was funny because it gave everybody up on the council desk something to talk about. So that was great.
Absolutely. Now, you're heading up the Centennial Committee, correct? Yeah. Now, what can we look forward to? What are the future plans?
Well, as you know, Councillor Dilworth has already told you we have a parade coming up in June, and on that same day, we have an All Nations Day, which is a celebration of the First Nations in Port Moody. There's a huge lineup of entertainment down at Rocky Point, which will start when the parade ends. And then when there will be not only the entertainment, there will be crafters down there. There will be storytelling in teepees for the children. There will be a bonfire. And that's going to be a fabulous day. It's some of the top First Nations entertainment in British Columbia is coming to that event. So we'd like to see a lot of people down there. August 17th, we have a family picnic. And that's it's going to be a big day. We've got really good entertainment lined up for it. There's games. There's going to be, games of the day, if you will, for the children. A bike parade, bike decorating and bike parade. It's all going to culminate at 10:30 with the biggest fireworks show that Port Moody has ever seen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was involved in the last fireworks, but this one is going to be spectacular. It's put on by the same people that put on Vancouver's display, the Festival of Fire. That's something.
It's the Festival of Lights.
Festival of Lights? Okay, there you go.
Festival of Lights. Oh, I can't.
Oh, well. Anyway.
All right, now, where can we get information about all of this?
Well, you can go onto Port Moody's website. Keep your eye on the newspapers, of course, and Facebook. It's on Facebook. So it's on Twitter. As events get closer and closer, we do more Twitter and more Facebook. But anytime you want, go on to the city website. And I'd encourage anybody that wants to volunteer, because we will need volunteers for some of these larger events. So anybody that wants to volunteer, go on there and get your name in. It's a lot of fun for you, and you'll get your volunteer T-shirt, and you'll feel like you're part of the community.